Our next inductee is Jon Springer of Zumbrota in the officials category. From football fields to basketball courts to baseball and softball diamonds, Springer is a legendary officiating icon with more than 60 years of service to the member schools of the Minnesota State High School League. He is the first officials inductee from Southeast Minnesota.
I think I just enjoyed being around the students, and because, as we've talked earlier, they were quite, for the most part, very respectful. Very respectful. And I many times said Mr. Springer or something, or I've had a player laying on the ground and look up and smile at me and say, "Good to see you," or something like that. You know, it's been good. It's been very good, and I think that really kind of drove me to want to do it more. So it's because of the reward of the feedback to the kids and the coaches, of course, and ADs. I have an ongoing friendship with many of them, and we get along very well. I never had to throw very many people out of the ball game. And the very few that, and my wife always said that, she says, "Who is that guy?" When I see him and I say hi to him, we're talking a little bit, and she says, "Who is that guy?" "Oh," I said, "I threw him out of a game one time." And she says, "He did, and he's not mad?"
Springer grew up in Millville. His father was a farm implement dealer, and baseball was the sport of choice for the entire town. Backyard football was also a favorite pastime. When his family moved to Elgin, he expanded his athletic pursuits.
Once I got to Elgin, played football and even gave basketball a try for 1 year. And obviously was not real good at that, so decided, and my dad kind of encouraged me to pick two sports and forget about because he didn't want to have to drive 9 miles to pick me up all the time, and because their business was such that it was kind of tough to pick you up after.
When it came time to think about a path in life, Springer received some input from his parents.
Well, at one point, my folks and them thought I should become a minister. That didn't work out too good. That didn't fit my personality real well.
Instead, he worked for 32 years as an engineer for IBM.
Probably when I first started at IBM, my then father-in-law was an official, Bob Berg, and he was officiating, and I became interested through him. Went the first year, kind of went out along with him, riding along, and then thought I can do this, and so I started out and got my feet wet, and away we went. In basketball, I always kind of never felt that I was a top-notch official. Football, I felt there was a point where I was being asked to work some higher level games and better games and things, and so your confidence level went up with it. So yeah, I would say that was probably 3-4 years into it that you start getting more and more confidence, and then finally get to the point where your confidence isn't buying you nothing. Working state championship games in the Dome were a lot of fun. Had enjoyed every minute of it. Had 1 year, I think that was '91, is when the snowstorm. Worked a quarterfinal game in the Metro Dome, a sectional playoff game in the Iowa Dome, and then back up and worked the championship game in the Metro Dome. So I worked 3 in 1 year under the roof, so to speak.
Former league associate director and fellow Hall of Fame member Kevin Merkel worked with Springer for years and admired the way he served not only through working games, but also advocating for the advancement of officiating.
He was always real positive, always represented Southeast Minnesota really well. And one part of being a regional coordinator, you're also the place where people go from that part of the state for rule interpretations. He would go out and watch officials and provide feedback to them. And he was so good at that because he could find things that they could work on, and he could deliver the message and do it in such a way that people could still feel good about what they did and still find ways in which they could improve. Somebody that officiates as long and as successfully as John, and you know this as an official, there's two sides we talk about, the art of officiating and the science of officiating. And John had both. You know, the science is knowing the rules, knowing the mechanics, knowing where to stand, knowing the signals. And that sets you up for the art of the officiating, which is the judgment and being able to deal with people and facilitate a game. And John had that way about him, so whether he's working with the athletes or working with the coaches, he had that way about him to make things work. And not everybody can do that. That takes a special skill.